Welcome, Josh,
Hello.
to an episode of the Pink Print Podcast. We're so excited to talk about such a desired topic, astrology.
I'm very excited too.
But specifically, Kabbalistic astrology. So can we just start off? Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into astrology and
Sure.
why Kabbalistic astrology.
Sure. So I actually started studying astrology in 2007. I was renting a room from an art teacher when I was in college. And in the bookshelf next to my bed, there was a book called Linda Goodman's Sun Signs. A lot of people have read this book, very famous book. So I started reading it and just was totally enamored with what I was reading. It took several years, but I eventually started studying and learning with a tutor and a teacher, and I was learning more what's called modern astrology. It's what you're typically going to find on cafeastrology.com, astro.com, tarot.com, more modern takes. And from there, I just started practicing a little bit. I started studying a lot more. And then in 2017, Yael Yardeni, who in the Kabbalah Center is one of the tip top astrologers, she launched her Academy of Kabbalistic Astrology. And I started studying with her and learned some really, really, really incredible things. And at that point is when I was committed to going professional, to actually practicing astrology, meeting with clients, working with clients, guiding them. And it's just been the joy of my life to dedicate my work and my full time to helping other people, guiding them through their spiritual process. Now, what's the difference between Kabbalistic astrology and conventional astrology? So conventional astrology, in many ways, is deterministic, meaning many people will look at the chart and say, what's in your chart? This is your destiny. This is what's going to happen. This is, in this amount of time, you're going to walk on this corner and you're going to meet your soulmate. Or you have this amount of money that's absolutely determined for you at some point in your life that you're going to earn or you're going to inherit. In other words, that what's in the chart is in many ways fixed, a fixed destiny. And I never really liked that idea. I felt like it took away my sense of personal agency, my free will. And when I began to study Kabbalistic astrology, what the main difference I was taught was anything that's in your chart, you can change it.
Mm-hmm.
You can
I
change
love that.
Me too.
Right? And so in that moment, I said, wow, what does this mean? I can change what's in my chart. And so I had to begin learning a lot more about the wisdom of Kabbalah and what it means to go above your own nature. Because it's not just enough to know what is in your astrology chart. It's not just enough to know your sign. You also have to know what aspects of your spiritual DNA did you come here to transform. And that's what you can actually see in the chart. You can see what is a person's limitations, what's a person's reactive system, what are their triggers, and then how can they navigate those aspects of themselves to become transformed. But that transformation has to be, in order to really go above and challenge and change anything that's in our astrological chart, we have to be willing to go above, challenge, and change our own internal reactive system, our own triggers, to not be slaves to the physical world around us and therefore be slaves to the stars. And so that's the main difference. Anything that is in your chart can be changed, but you have to have consciousness, you have to have awareness, and you have to have a willingness to want to be different, to want to change, to want to elevate. So that's what really struck me as so powerful and unique, is that it sort of gives you back your power. It's not that just you're some automaton robot that, when the Mars goes retrograde or Mercury goes retrograde, suddenly, everything, goes into the garbage and I just have to hide away for 3 or 6 weeks and pretend like the world doesn't exist.
Right.
Yeah.
It gives you back that sense of personal agency so you can take control over it.
I love that. I'm like so excited. That was like, I feel like I'm in a class.
I know,
I'm just
I know,
like
same.
listening. I'm like, wow. That was actually one of my questions is like, how much do we actually co-create in our lives? I know that we do. And I was going to ask how much is actually fixed and how much can we change? But apparently we can change everything.
Yeah.
It's a really great question. I actually posed this to a Kabbalah teacher years ago. I said, what aspect of, where does free will begin and let's say the will of the cosmos end and begin? Like, where's the boundary? And the way the teacher put it to me is she said, listen, every decision you make is like pressing play on a song. You make a decision, you make a choice, you hit play. That song's going to play. That movie's going to play. It's your choice whether to hit play on it or not. So let's say, for example, right, everybody knows Mercury retrograde.
Yeah,
Famous Mercury retrograde. Nobody understands me. I'm stuck in traffic. The printer's on the fritz.
Flights get delayed, canceled.
Flights get delayed. Yeah. So if I, let's say, know that Mercury is retrograde, and I know that one of the aspects of Mercury retrograde is I'm likely to get stuck in traffic, and I've got somewhere to be at a certain time. If I'm not aware and I don't have consciousness of what Mercury retrograde is all about, and I make the choice, take the action, hit play to leave at the time I normally would leave, it's likely that I'm going to be late.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But if I have consciousness and I'm aware and I prepare for that, I could leave, let's say, 30 minutes earlier, and then I'm not stuck in that same movie where I'm late. Instead, maybe I get there on time, or maybe I get there a little bit early, but at least I'm not late, and at least I'm not freaking out and reacting over the fact that I'm running late.
And blaming it on Mercury.
Yeah,
I'm blaming it on Mercury retrograde.
Yeah. And then you're like affirming, like, I knew this was going to happen because Mercury's in retrograde. And it's like, of course it is because you're making it happen.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a question because I think that like astrology to some people has become such a joke. Like all boys are like, oh yeah, you read that in your horoscope. Like boys, I think in specific just don't understand the power of it. But like, when you are meeting with a client or talking to anybody, how would you say knowing your chart is beneficial to your life? Just like, how can it help you grow and propel, or like, what even is the point of knowing your chart?
So the point of knowing your chart, there are different levels to it. There are different reasons why you want to understand the energy that you were born with. This comes down, I think we could break it down to what everybody knows is the big three, right? So if you know your sun and moon and your rising, you know some key components of not just your personality or your likes or your dislikes, but you really understand a core of your energy. So, for example, when you know your sun sign, you understand what it looks like when your light is shining. What are the things you came into this world to share with people? What did you come into this world to reveal? When you're, standing out in the world and people are looking at you saying, wow, look at all of that incredible light that person is revealing. Look at them. What are you doing? Where are you? How do you access that energy? How do you magnify that energy? When you understand your sun sign, and particularly where it falls within the astrological chart, you know how to, it's not just knowing what that energy is, but you know where it shines the brightest, how you can access it, and how you can magnify it.
So beautiful.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's more than just, so I'm a Libra, right? I'm a Libra and I'm indecisive. Whoop-de-doo, who cares?
Yeah.
Right? But because I have a sun in Libra, it means I know that the light that I reveal is the light of balance. It's the light of harmony. It's the light of diplomacy, the light of coming to agreements, and even creating beauty and bringing beauty into the world, bringing understanding, working one-on-one with other people. So these are all the ways in which my light becomes revealed, right? The moon is where we're triggered by feelings of lack. So when we understand the moon sign, we understand, especially in those moments when we're not getting what we want, how do we react in those moments? And, you know, if you think about the moon and the sun, right? So the sun is your light. When you are triggered and react out of not getting what you want, what ends up happening is you eclipse your light. So when you empower the moon, you eclipse the light. And so understanding the moon, you're understanding what those triggers are so that your light is not eclipsed. It's not blocked. And then the rising sign, and you're only going to ever hear this in Kabbalistic astrology, the rising sign has to do with your spiritual tools. It's not just your outward personality. It's not just
how people perceive you.
The math.
Yeah.
Although it is all those things. It's not that it's not those things. It is all those things.
Yeah.
But more deeply, it actually has to do with the unique spiritual tools that your soul selected in order to conquer that reactivity of the moon sign and then to access and reveal the light of the sun.
Interesting.
My brain is doing math equations about.
I'm like, so how is my,
I'm like looking at my chart in my head, like it all makes so much sense for me.
So you're like using your rising sign to really help overcome your moon so you can shine your sun.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, you got it. Yeah.
But like imagine you don't know that this is the deeper, more spiritual use of astrological wisdom, right? And I think that's where a lot of people get tripped up in understanding astrology and relating with astrology, and that many times it becomes an excuse for bad behavior.
Totally.
Or it becomes an excuse to remain limited.
Yes.
Totally.
Right? So, you know, let's say, I don't know, I'm going to pick on Capricorns. I love you, Capricorns. Okay, my parents are Capricorn, but I'm just going to pick on you, right? So, you know, somebody says, well, I'm a Capricorn and I'm controlling, and that's just it. I'm controlling, so I'm going to control everything around me.
I've heard this before.
This isn't the point.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the point. You're not supposed to stay stuck in the limitation of your sign, and you're not supposed to excuse, let's say, bad behavior or a lack of initiative or a lack of growth on the limitations of the astrological chart. In fact, Rob Berg says that if you read anything about your astrology, and especially the negative stuff, and you're like, oh yeah, that's me 100%, you're in trouble, girl.
Why?
You're in danger.
Why are we in danger?
Because we're not here to remain in a sort of robotic, automatic, autopilot way of moving through life. We're here to engage with our lives consciously, to engage with our lives proactively. So if you look at your chart and you're a Capricorn and you say, okay, I have issues with control. What does that actually mean? I have places in my life where I doubt the presence of the light of the Creator. I have places in my life where I doubt that the Creator is going to be there to sustain me, to support me. And so therefore, I feel like it's all on me. It's only me. That there's nobody else I can trust. The Creator's not going to be there, so I have to get involved. I have to make sure it's under control, right? And so if you are staying stuck in that limited consciousness, you're actually limiting yourself from being able to create more fulfillment, more abundance, more opportunity, more goodness in your life.
It's funny because we were talking about, but it's so almost like you're like affirming that of yourself, and you're like, well, that's just the way I am.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Like, I'm gonna pick on Leos, but like, I'm a Leo. Like, it is what it is. Like, sorry, like I need all the attention. You're like, it's just like, but you don't have to. And I think that I've learned one thing, especially through Kabbalistic astrology, is that you're supposed to rise above your sign, right?
That's exactly right. But
So-
I mean, if you pick on Leo, right?
Yeah.
Leo is meant to shine. Leo is meant to be seen. Leo is meant to be somewhere in front of people, and they're looking at them. But why? With what consciousness, right? Does the Leo want to be seen so that people will say, I love you, you're so great, you're so wonderful.
I'm like, give me more
And
recognition.
therefore, let's say, artificially affirm your value? Or do you root that sense of value within yourself? And therefore, you have so much that you want to shine into the world, so much that you want to share with people, so many people that you want to illuminate in the world, that you need to be there on stage. You need people to see you, because that's how you're going to be able to share your light. You don't need to be on stage and people to see you so that they can, again, artificially affirm your worth
Or
and
fill
your
our
value.
egos so we feel better about
Exactly.
ourselves, or just so we're like, oh, everyone loves us, like for selfish
A
reasons.
secret about Leos
Tell
is
me,
that
my
deep
boyfriend.
down,
Are you
deep
listening?
down, they can be very, very self-conscious.
Oh yeah, I'm like,
Very self-conscious. And even in some extremes, very insecure.
yeah, that's why we
And
want.
so-
I mean, why we? But like, I feel like that's why part of the Leo in my chart, I'm like, I just need to like have that self-love. I need everyone else to recognize me so that I feel.
And you know what? The beautiful thing is that when Leo operates from a desire just to share and reveal, and whatever it is, the talent that the Leo has, you share it with the world, and you're coming genuinely from a place of wanting to contribute that to the other person's life. The natural result is that you're seen, you're celebrated, you're honored. And this is with any sun sign.
Yeah.
It's with any sun sign. When you come from that place of sharing, the natural effect is that people see you and they appreciate you and they want to receive from that light.
Yeah.
So, in my head, I guess like you can also explain what a tikkun is, but are our tikkuns rooted in our moon sign?
In Kabbalah, we have an idea that each of us came into this world with some sort of default consciousness, some sort of default way of thinking and moving through life. And this default consciousness is rooted in a desire to receive, but only for the self. That the immediate consciousness is the more I can get, the more I can take from the world around me, the more fulfillment I'm going to experience. This actually doesn't create fulfillment, right? How many times have you bought a new handbag? Right? It's great. It's great. It's great for the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right? You feel good,
Like
right?
not
You're
even.
carrying it around, right? But then afterwards, it's, it doesn't have that same luster.
Yeah.
Right?
No.
It's like it's just another bag.
Yeah.
And so getting and receiving is not actually what generates fulfillment. What generates fulfillment is creating and sharing. So this idea of tikkun is that we came here, and tikkun in Aramaic means correction. We came here to correct our consciousness, our mentality, our way of thinking about life. And what is the correction? Shifting away from this idea that the more I can get and receive, the more fulfilled I'll be, into the more I share and I create, the more I'm going to experience true fulfillment. Right? How much better does it feel when you're the one who's sharing with somebody, let's say giving a gift to somebody, versus actually getting the gift? Right? If you think about it, initially, for those who may be new to this idea, you might initially think, no, I'd much rather have the gift.
Yeah, no.
Right? But if you really, really pay attention, especially after this episode, you move through your life and you start paying attention to how much better you feel, how much more fulfillment you experience when you're giving to people, when you're sharing with people, you're actually experiencing more fulfillment. And so tikkun is this idea of correcting the consciousness, of transforming and shifting it into one that is sharing and creating versus just taking and receiving. And so the moon, to answer your question, it's a component of our tikkun process. So every one of us is in a process of transforming our consciousness to becoming beings of sharing and creating. The moon plays a role because the moon, again, is where we feel that lack. Right? The moon doesn't have its own light. Okay? The moon only receives the light from the sun. And so in Kabbalah, we compare this to a human being, which is like a vessel, to receive the energy, the beneficence, the light from the creator force. And so the moon in astrology represents where within ourselves we experience lack. Again, where we're not getting what we want. And so either in that moment when we're not getting what we want, we can react and say, no, I'm going to force this way through. I'm going to manipulate the world around me. I'm going to scream and yell and, I don't know, punch them in the face because I'm not getting what I want. Or I can pause that and I can elevate my mindset, my consciousness into a place that says, my sense of fulfillment is not going to come from getting what I want. It's never going to come from getting what I want. In fact, fascinating, if you think about it, how much more exciting is it to desire something
Than getting it.
than actually getting it?
Yeah.
Right?
I want a boyfriend. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
good luck.
Right? No, yeah. I want a boyfriend.
But it's a
I
lot
want
of work,
partner.
everybody. Like,
Right?
yeah.
There's something almost like exciting
About wanting
about
something.
Like, I
wanting
want to
it.
get, like, every girl's like, I can't wait for my wedding. I want to get married. Like, you just got married.
It's true,
like,
you get
eh,
ready. And
cool.
it's like, how does it feel? I'm like,
The same.
You know, like,
Yeah.
it's like we were the same before, we're the same now. We had a great party. Yeah. Has my life completely changed? No.
Right.
You know, of course, we're so grateful. We had a great
No,
celebration,
yeah,
but
yeah.
like,
It's okay.
but
Yeah.
yeah, that's why people are always like chasing the next thing. Cause then you get it and you're like, all right, well, now I need something else.
Right, because it's actually it's the process
It's a chase.
of actually creating
Yeah.
and arriving to that actually is what's bringing the fulfillment.
Yeah.
The getting it, once you've got it, you actually lose the desire.
Mm-hmm.
The desire is no longer there because now you have it.
Yeah.
And so that's why the word Kabbalah actually means to receive, that we were created as vessels, basically a walking, talking, I want. And so the more that we expand our vessel, our desire to be engaged with sharing, meaning our sun sign, sharing our light, and the less we are concerned with, I want what I want and I want it right now, the more we're going to be experiencing true fulfillment, because we'll always be in a process of creating. We'll always be in a process of generating that light, right?
Yeah. No, I think for people who are like, oh, why learn it? I just think it's like, why not use these tools to better get to know yourself, or to even help, which we can talk about, like how you can use the chart to navigate certain difficult relationships or career or decisions. You can really use it to your favor too, to help guide you. Like you said, you help guide your clients.
You can use it everywhere. You can
Yeah.
use it in relationships. You can use it in business. You could use it with family dynamics.
I love to see the family dynamics because that's like a major theme in my life. And I'm just like, how is this connected? What's my work here with this person? This person really triggers me. And it's like, what then? You know, also just like an understanding a little bit from the past. I mean, I believe in reincarnation, right? The past, and then seeing this life, how you guys are together as siblings or
Yeah.
mother, daughter, or
Right.
whatever situation, right? So you can really use it to then flourish in this relationship in this life. I don't want to come back next life and have to do this all over again.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So I know that Gio has been with you like in a session at the Kabbalah Center before, and she was telling me about how you were saying are there common tikkuns for each sign, like not each sign but each category of sign, like fire, air, water, earth?
Yeah, there
Can
are.
we go through those?
Yeah, of course. So in astrology, we have the 4 elements: fire, earth, air, and water. And each of these elements has a unique spiritual work, a tikkun, that it's here to achieve. Each of the signs within these elements, there's a uniqueness to that work, but we can get a broad view of what that work actually is. Okay, so we can go one by one. Fire has to do with our desire, right? Fire consumes. Right? If I light something on fire, the fire consumes it, turns it into carbon.
Mhm.
Okay, and so fire signs are here to really correct their desire to receive. They're the ones who are sort of the quintessential, and forgive me, fire signs. I'm a fire sign rising, but it's really sort of quintessential sort of selfishness. Putting the self before others, getting frustrated when things aren't going your way, when you're not getting what you want.
Sounds familiar.
No, my best friend, I know she's going to listen. She's an Aries, and she pretty much gets everything she wants because she has that fire and desire in her. But when she doesn't, it is like all hell is breaking loose.
Exactly. And so the desire has to be shifted away from, like we've been saying this whole time, away from give me what I want, into how can I use my desire to create in the world to share with others, right? So Aries is meant to share empowerment and authenticity. Leo is meant to share inspiration and to help people see their talents. Sagittarius is meant to share wisdom and experience. And so, but these ideas can be used to, receive, just to give me what I want right now, and I don't care about anybody else, and I don't care about what is going on around me. It's all about me. And so this is sort of the basic idea of Tikkun, but it really directly applies to the fire signs. The earth signs, they're interacting with the physical world because the earth deals with everything that has become manifested. And so when anything becomes manifested, in Kabbalah we learn that everything that exists in this universe, a human being, a microphone, a picture on the shelf, a planet, a galaxy, a blade of grass, everything starts out as undifferentiated energy, pure light. And eventually that light comes down through the upper worlds and it manifests as a form. It manifests in a vessel. And so when that light goes into a vessel and it is manifested, becomes physical, it is inherently limited. Right? As soon as I have an apple, I can't suddenly turn it into an orange. It's limited. And so earth signs are here to deal with the physicality. They're here to manifest. But that same desire to manifest can create a consciousness that is stuck in limitation, stuck in lack. There's not enough of this. There's not enough of that.
Yeah.
Exactly. So earth signs have to come out of the consciousness of lack and limitation and allow themselves to go out of their comfort zone, to have more certainty, and to allow themselves to grow beyond their limits.
God forbid. I'm like thinking of all the earth signs I know. It's like, nope, I'm not going to do that. Like, that's scary, or this or that. Like, and then you're telling me the Aquarius, like, not think outside the box. Like, I'm like, what are you guys talking about over there? Like, why? Wait, can you also share, because I love how you said the positive things about each of the fire signs, like how you said Sag is here to like share experience, and can you do that for all of them too?
For the earth signs,
so Taurus is here to manifest serenity, tranquility, and peace.
So my husband does that with me. I'm like, so this is what he does.
That's really cute.
He is peaceful.
They're
He
here
is
to
my
create
peace.
environments that feel inviting, warm, serene. Taurus energy is like the yoga studio.
Oh,
It's Leo
Taurus energy is the yoga studio or the garden.
It's so true. Her
Her
husband is so chill. I'm like always so zenned out when I'm with him.
It's very hard to shake them. It's very hard to shake a Taurus.
Yeah.
They're so calming, but if you shake them, watch out.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. The few times he's very calm. But like I have like my crazy Leo side. My Mars is in Scorpio. And then it's like we start to argue and I'm just like, eh. And then he's just like, honestly, really calm. The few times he explodes, I'm like, oh, how dare you?
But we transform it, right? We transform it.
Yeah,
we go beyond it. We elevate above it.
We elevate, but I'm just like, oh my goodness. But like, that's like me most of the time.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
It's funny.
Virgo is here to bring order, structure, and also to help develop practical skill sets. To develop their own skill sets and then help other people implement and develop those skill sets as well. And then Capricorn is here to create boundaries, structures, systems, and rules, because we need boundary, structure, systems, and rules, right? Mm-hmm. If I'm driving down a mountain road that doesn't have a guardrail, what can happen? Okay, God forbid. But so we need that. So, but all of those same things can create limitation within the earth sign, right? So then we have water signs. Their tikkun process is a little the other way around. It's a little backwards.
Oh, cool.
And I don't mean that judgmentally. But actually, water signs are inherently sharing.
Yeah.
They're inherently sharing. They're inherently giving. Why? Because water is life-giving. Right? And we need water to live.
There's so much beauty in every sign. Everyone likes to hate on some signs, but there's so much beauty, really.
Right? Even if you think about like breast milk, it's liquid. There's water in it. It's life-giving. And so water signs are inherently giving. But water signs have to determine, why are they giving? Are they giving because they want to feel in control? Are they giving because they want to feel needed? Are they giving because they feel like if they don't, that there's no value to them? Are they giving because they want to alleviate some pain that they feel in another person, right? And so if we look at all the different signs, so Cancer is actually meant to generate and share the energy of safety, security, initiate emotional bonding, initiate the energies of nurturing and support. But Cancers can share to feel needed, because if they don't feel needed, then they question their worth. Scorpios are also sharing, but they share to control. Okay? They share to remain in control.
My dad.
And so, but they're actually meant to share in a way that transforms their environment, that elevates their environment. And then Pisces shares because they share to alleviate the pain that they feel from other people. So they feel the pain of others and they say, I need to alleviate the pain I'm feeling, so let me save this person from their pain. But sometimes people don't want to be saved from their pain. Right? The Rob Berg would always say that people love their chaos. They hug their chaos. They don't want to let it go. And many people, they'll come and they'll call you up and they'll say, oh, my boyfriend is not, thinking about me. He's not caring about me. Or my boss is a jerk and he's always mistreating me. And so you give them advice and you share energy with them. 2 weeks later, they come back with the same story, the same thing. So they don't actually want a solution.
Yeah.
They want to feel validated. And that's not always the sharing thing to do. And so actually water signs need to really question, why am I sharing? With what intention am I sharing? Am I sharing because I see genuinely what this person needs? Sometimes sharing with somebody is actually not giving to them. Sometimes sharing with somebody is telling them no.
Right.
You can't have what you want.
Yeah.
Imagine an alcoholic. If you give an alcoholic money, there's some sharing happening, right? But it's not helping the alcoholic. They can go take that money, they'll buy alcohol, God forbid, hurt themselves, God forbid, hurt somebody else. So the giving is not actually sharing. The giving is, the enabler who shares with the alcoholic is, there's some fear that they have, or there's some sense to feel needed, or something within them is not coming from the right mindset. It's not coming from the right consciousness. And so in that case, with the alcoholic, you need to say no. The sharing action is not to give. The sharing action is to set a boundary. And so this is how we understand the water energy, and how it's not necessarily this sort of clear-cut, selfish me first.
Yeah.
It's more subtle. It's more subtle than that. Air signs. So air signs have to do with the idea of resistance. Air
So
signs.
funny. The day we were like, we get water, fire, and earth. We're like, what?
I don't
What's
get
air?
air.
We're like,
I'm
are we,
an air
is it
sign.
communication? We
Yeah,
were like, what
I
is
was like,
it?
I really don't know what an air sign entails.
So air signs are here to create. We're here to create balance. I'm a Libra, so we're here to create balance. But all air signs, not just Libra, and the Libra is the
Geminis
scales,
too?
but Geminis too. Yeah, we're here to create balance.
They're balance of two personalities.
Balance of competing desires. Okay, and so air signs naturally resist, because when there's an energy that when we resist our mentality of taking and receiving just for ourselves, and instead we elevate into a consciousness of sharing, this is how we connect to a balanced approach, a balanced way of moving through the world. When we reveal our light, that's how we actually turn on our light, when we resist that desire. Right? Why do things burn up in the atmosphere, like meteorites or space junk? Right? Why does it burn up? Because the air resists. It resists that movement. And so air signs inherently resist. But air signs are meant to resist in order to create clarity, in order to see the bigger picture, in order to understand everything that we're looking at. And so sometimes air signs can resist reactively. Right? So Gemini is actually meant to take information, process that information really, really quickly, and then distribute it, share it. That's why Geminis make great teachers, great salespeople. But many times, Geminis will resist making important choices or making commitments because they're afraid of being caged. They're afraid of losing their freedom. Libras are actually meant to create balance, harmony, like I said before, through that resistance, through, let's say, not being impulsive, really thinking through a decision. But many times that indecision comes from fear. Fear that I'm going to make a wrong decision, I'm going to fail, everybody's going to see me, and everybody's going to judge me. So the resistance is reactive. And then the Aquarius is, and that's you, right?
Yeah.
The Aquarius is inherently resistant because Aquarius is a sign that says no. Aquarius resists the status quo in order to help us see something bigger, something greater. But many times the Aquarian will just resist for the sake of resisting, saying no, not to feel controlled, no, not to feel like they're fitting into somebody else's box or somebody else's expectation. But really the resistance is meant to be applied to the selfish desire, to resist the selfish desire in order to get some greater clarity, some bigger picture understanding of what's happening, right? So this is how we understand sort of the broad tikkun experience of the different signs via understanding the elements. And there are other layers to this because you have what are called cardinal signs, fixed signs, mutable signs. There's also an underlayer to each of those signs. And within cardinal, mutable, and fixed, what they indicate are internal elements. So all of the signs have an external element, but they also have an internal element. So for example, Aries is external fire, but internal water.
Interesting.
Leo is external fire and internal fire.
Great.
And then Sagittarius is external fire, internal air. Right?
So many layers.
There's layers to it and different ways to understand the spiritual work of each of these signs. It's not as sort of painting everything with a broad brush as, let's say, skeptics like to do when they are being skeptical of astrology. They don't understand the real depth and detail that goes into understanding the chart.
Even when people are like, oh, like, you're an Aquarius, like, whatever, you're an Aquarius, but there's just even knowing the rising and the moon and then all your other signs, like, completely changes your personality from like another Aquarius. Like, everything makes a difference. It's not just like, oh, you're a Leo and we're all the same Leo. We're not. But I think people like forget that there's like, you know,
and then you also have the houses, you know?
Right.
So like a Leo who has their sun in the 10th house is going to express that Leo energy differently than a Leo that has their sun in the 7th house.
Right.
Very different areas of life where that light is accessed and revealed. And then, you know, each sign has a ruling planet. So, for example, I'm a Libra, but Venus ruling Libra in my chart is in Sagittarius. So
it gets too much.
I know Cancer is ruled by the moon.
Cancer is ruled by the moon.
And Leo is ruled by the sun.
Right, exactly.
Do you know what Aquarius is ruled by?
No, I only know mine.
There are some disagreements. In modern astrology, Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, but in traditional Kabbalistic astrology, it's ruled by Saturn. So we, at least in the way that I practice astrology, it's ruled by Saturn.
So then what does that mean when the planets rule your sun sign?
Let's say, like, if you're an Aquarius with Saturn in Aries, you're going to be much more, you're going to have a lot more initiative, you're going to be a lot more bold, you're going to be a lot more pioneering.
Let's go.
Versus if you're an Aquarius with Saturn, say, in Cancer, you're going to be a little bit more subdued, you're going to be a little bit more introverted, you're going to have a lot more work to do around the emotional space. Versus Saturn in Aries means that you're here to actually be more pioneering, to take more bold action.
So that depends on the year you were born?
Yes, exactly.
Got it.
Exactly.
So, okay, question. Does a cusp exist? People are like, you're on the cusp.
No.
He's like, no. Okay, but let's talk about Kabbalistic astrology is ruled by the Hebrew calendar.
Okay.
And your sun sign's a little different.
Yes.
And there, you're not a cusp, but I guess you're both?
So...
Wait. So... Hold on, back to the cusp really quick because you said no like this.
Yeah.
So there's not like a day that Sag ends and Capricorn starts on that same day. It's like
It's not by the day, it's by the movement of the planets.
Okay.
So,
Got it.
for
Come on,
example,
Kat, do
there is a day.
Learning so much info.
No, there is a day where the sun shifts.
Like if you Google. But,
Yeah, well,
but your
there
chart
is a
not
day
like Google.
and an hour where the sun moves from one sign to the next.
Okay.
And the reason why there is a difference between, let's say, the beginning of a sign and the end of a sign. There is. But there's really not an admixture of signs with one planet,
Got it.
right? So either the sun is in this sign or it's in that sign.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no overflow of one sign's energy into the next.
Got it. Okay.
There are modern astrologers who would disagree with me. They are absolutely open to disagree with
Yeah.
me. But in the School of
They're absolutely
Astrology,
wrong.
I was gonna wait for that too, but he was like, I was like, okay.
okay. But in the School of Astrology that I operate in, we don't use the idea of cusps.
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
So to answer your question, so in Kabbalah we use a different calendar. We use the Hebrew calendar. We do use the Gregorian calendar, but it's just really to schedule our appointments and our classes. But the Hebrew calendar is an energetic calendar because it takes into account the solar cycle as well as the lunar cycle. So in Kabbalah, the sun represents the light of the Creator, the source of our fulfillment. The moon represents the vessel, our desire to receive. And so everything in Kabbalah is about uniting the light with the vessel. Okay? And the way in which we unite the light with the vessel is not through taking and getting, it's through creating. And there's a whole technology to it. I'm sure you've covered it in other podcasts. But when you are gauging the cycles of energy from the perspective of both the sun and the moon, you're getting a much clearer picture of what is the prevailing cosmic energy that is operating within a given time frame. And so in the Hebrew calendar, the months are determined by the lunar cycles. So from new moon to new moon, 28 days, each lunar cycle is a month. And that whole cycle, regardless of what sign the moon is in or what any other planet is in, that whole 28-day cycle as a unit is governed by a sign. And depending on the month within the calendar that you're born in, it's indicating the core spiritual work, the core lessons that your soul came here to learn and dedicate its time to transforming. Versus the sun is really just your light. It's just the light that you're here to share. And that's what you typically know when you look at, I was born on December 2nd.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay, that's the sun sign. And so there's some component that you're understanding. I'm here to reveal the light, let's say December 2nd of Sagittarius. Okay, but it's possible that the lunar cycle at that time is not Sagittarius. It's possible it's Capricorn. And so, because they're two different calendars, they're two different planetary cycles. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes the lunar Kabbalistic month, Hebrew month that you're born under, can be different than your sun sign.
Mine's different. Hers is the same, for example. So it's just funny.
And it doesn't negate the Hebrew sign. In Kabbalah, we say it's our soul sign.
Right.
So the soul sign, it does not negate the sun sign. Right. So if somebody is born, let's say in your case, you're born in the month of Leo.
I'm Cancer in the Gregorian.
Your sun is in Cancer, but you're born in the Hebrew month of Leo.
Yeah.
Right. So your core spiritual work is that of Leo. But your sun, the light that your sun reveals, is that of Cancer.
Right.
Right? And so it's important to know, especially if they're different, what they are and how they operate within your spiritual process of transformation.
Yeah.
Because it gives you much greater clarity, like, really, what did I come here to learn? Because the lessons of Leo are very different from the lessons of Cancer.
No, I feel like sometimes I'm like two different personalities because one's literally the sun, ruled by the sun. The other one's like they're so literally opposites of each other a little bit.
Yeah, because one is the sun and the other is the moon.
Right. They're 9 days.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like I have different
Thank God mine is the
personalities.
same.
It does. I will say.
You
Sorry, Joe, but it does make it a little easier when they're the same. It does make the spiritual work a little bit easier. So,
You're
but that's
perfect.
okay. Your soul said I want to challenge. I
Yeah.
want
challenge,
to
it's all
challenge
good.
myself, so it's good.
But it's interesting because it's like another layer that people might not know about. And not that you're going to like relate to that other sun sign, but it just all just makes sense. And then you have to, again, work and
then you gotta do the
rise
work.
above it. Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't do you any good to, let's say, do a session with me. I tell you about all of your sort of spiritual DNA, the spiritual work you came here to do, the past lives that you had and you lived, and you're like, okay, that's great, thanks.
Yeah. I mean, no. Yeah.
I'm just gonna stay the same. Listen, don't waste your money.
Yeah.
if you're not gonna actually do the work, I'm gonna tell you, don't waste your money.
Yeah.
You won't get anything from it.
I want to ask about love compatibility with like a partner, like not family.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, at least when I was little, it's like, what's my most compatible sign? Like, you're Googling this, whatever. And we were just talking about, me and my boyfriend, we can either be like a perfect match or the worst match in the world. So are there like certain, like, does it have to do with your sun sign when you're for love compatibility, or does it have to do with the whole chart? Like, how does this all work? Like the placements of them both together, I guess.
Yeah.
Wait, Aquarius and Leo are twin flames?
Yeah.
Is that what
They're
it is?
sister signs.
They're sister signs.
They're sister signs. They're opposite signs.
So like it's my like sun and Leo in the Hebrew, like is that why we're like
Our
we're
charts, our
soulmates?
charts are kind of similar in reverse.
A little bit. We have a lot of the same. I mean, they're probably like really different.
Well, like
different.
I'm Sun Aquarius, she's Sun Cancer, I'm Cancer rising, she's Aquarius rising,
Yeah.
and then I'm Libra moon, she's Leo moon,
Yeah.
It's great.
and my North Node is in Leo.
I'm like, it's why we get along so well. I mean, we weren't talking about friendships,
No,
but
we
I
were
was
not. Forgot my way.
No, but compatibility also shows up. It's not just romantic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It shows up in friendships. It shows up with family. It shows
Yeah.
up in business partnerships. It's
Yeah.
really important to understand. But,
But back to the relationships.
What's
yeah.
your North Node?
I don't know. I forgot.
Okay. I want to talk about
I
that.
don't know either. So compatibility is way more than just your sun sign.
Okay.
Really, there are 5 key things you want to look at to understand compatibility: the rising, the sun, the moon, Venus, and Mars. Okay.
I knew you were gonna say
You
Venus
really
and
gotta
Mars.
understand those 5 to have a deep
I hate my Venus.
understanding. of
My Venus
compatibility.
is-
why?
yeah.
What's your Venus?
Pisces.
That's a great.
what a
Venus.
lover.
Really?
That's the best. Yeah.
I feel like I'm
Venus
like always
so.
like,
So listen, planets have.
Mine's in Virgo. I'm a little cold.
Oh, they're opposites.
We're the same.
They're
We're just
opposites.
aligned.
Wow. so planets have signs that they do well in, and signs that they do okay in, and signs that they don't do well in at
Right.
all. Venus is actually said to be exalted in Pisces, meaning it operates at its
So, like-
optimal.
And yours is in
God.
Pisces.
In Pisces.
You're in
cool.
You're Optimus Prime. You're in the best.
But why is it good in Pisces? I thought Pisces is like all over the place and always looking and like confused, and
Yeah, but
not me.
Venus is more than just relationships. It's also our creativity, it's art, it's pleasure, it's beauty. And so when you put it in Pisces, it's able to imagine, it's able to connect. Venus is the planet of love. Pisces is a sign that wants unconditional love, that promotes broad, universal love.
It's true.
And
You're so wholesome.
That's why we started this podcast.
Yeah, and so Venus operates really, really well there. But really, when we talk about compatibility of signs, just sort of broadly speaking, really all signs are meant to be compatible.
Okay.
All signs are meant
this
to
is
be able
so
to work
enlightening.
together.
I think
Some
that's
people
beautiful.
will be like, yeah, I think this whole conversation is beautiful, but like,
Yeah, I know.
some people will be like, no, like we're just not, and already like shut a door or not even try. It's so nice that like really we're all here to be compatible.
Listen, I have to tell you, if you are rejecting a potential partner because of their sign, you're making a big mistake. You're making a huge
I'm like ex-Scorpios.
mistake. Okay? No, it's a big mistake, because what if the reason why, and this is not always the case, but what if the reason why that same sign keeps showing up is because there's something in you that needs to be changed because of the presence of that sign in your life. It's indicating something for you that, for example, I'm surrounded by Capricorns. That's why I picked on it at the beginning. Surrounded by Capricorns. Everywhere I go, I'm surrounded by Capricorns. And so I had to ask myself, what am I supposed to learn? Okay, so there must be something that I need to learn about responsibility, about commitment, about hard work, about being dedicated, about creating structure, about being regimented, right? And Capricorns are all of that. And so if you are rejecting signs, it means that you're probably rejecting some important lesson that sign is meant to teach you. Now, it doesn't mean that you're meant to accept abuse.
No.
Right.
Okay, that's not what that means. You should not accept abuse by any means. But you really want to ask yourself, if I keep dating Geminis, what am I not learning?
Yeah.
What is it that I'm not, right? Why am I attracting Geminis? Am I not clear on how I'm communicating? Am I being avoidant? Am I not making commitments? Where in me is that showing up that's drawing in that energy? And listen, I know Geminis get a bad rep. I love Geminis. I don't know why everybody on the internet hates on Geminis. I don't know why everybody on the internet hates on Scorpios. I mean, I do. But, I do because I understand the shadow side of those signs. But there's so much goodness that can come out of each and every one of the signs. And if you're only experiencing the negative aspect of those signs, it means that there's something within you that needs to be transformed and changed.
Love how it always comes back to us.
It has to.
We love to look at everyone like, that's the problem, you're the problem, your sign sucks. And it's like, it's all comes back to us and how we can be better.
Yeah, exactly. If I look in a mirror and I give the mirror the middle finger, right? What's happening?
You're getting it right back.
I'm giving it right back.
Totally.
Right? If I punch the mirror, right? The fist is coming towards me. Right? And so if I'm going to be in a process of looking out into the world and judging each sign because there's something about it that rubs me the wrong way or something about it that is triggering me, it just means that the universe is reflecting back to you something that you've got to change.
Yeah.
And so
I love that.
when we talk about compatibility, again, all of the signs are meant to work together. They should be compatible. The only reason why certain signs don't work is because they're not willing to surrender their ego.
Wow.
They're not willing to reduce the ego and come from a place of general, let's say, cooperation or understanding the motivation of the other person. Right? When you understand the motivation of the other person, you have a greater level of compassion and patience for their energy. And Libras are very, very good at this. We're very good at understanding sort of the other person's point of view, the other person's energy. And in fact, Kabbalah teaches that humanity as a whole is a Libran entity because the Kabbalistic New Year occurs, and it's actually when humanity came into existence, occurs on the new moon of Libra. And so humanity as a whole, we are a Libran entity, meaning we're meant to understand each other. We're meant to see into each other's motivations and come from that place of compassion and care and to cooperate, to work together, to build bridges. Instead, what happens is the ego gets involved and it creates separation and anger. And instead of actually reaching out to understand the other person, we go into the ego mode.
Yeah.
And that's why people say, oh, I don't like Geminis or Scorpios or Capricorns or Libras or whoever. It's because they're operating from that place. Now, that doesn't mean, again, that they didn't have a legitimately bad experience with that sign.
Right.
But if they don't change, whatever it is needs to be changed, they're going to continue to attract
and get triggered.
That same energy into their life, whether it's, so if it's somebody who's always attracting Geminis and, they say, oh, I can't stand Geminis because A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Well, you'll attract a Gemini, it doesn't work, you don't change. Maybe you'll attract a Cancer, but with a Gemini moon. Okay? You don't change. Maybe you'll attract a Leo, but with Gemini rising. They're going to have some element of that sign that you are meant to learn from. And so if you don't learn from it, you're going to continue to attract in that energy, and it's going to just continue to create this revolving door of lessons until eventually you hit some form of rock bottom and you have no choice but to learn from it.
Yeah.
So this is how compatibility works. It's not as one-dimensional as we might think.
Yeah. So one thing I don't like when people go into astrology sessions is like when they want to go and know the future.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people do that. And it's like so, again, beautiful that you said that like really we can change anything on our chart. But like, what do you tell people who just want to know the future? Can your chart really tell the future? Like, no, because we can change it?
Yes and no.
Yes and no?
I want to
Yes
say
and no.
one thing.
Say one thing.
Like,
Am I changing the subject here?
no, it's about this
because
because I've said this to you before and we were both like so confused. And sorry, I keep bringing up personal stories. People are probably like, I don't care about your life. But for example, thank you. For example, like I had a death in my family and I was talking with the Kabbalistic astrologer and she's like, oh yeah, like I can see that because of the Aquarius. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, does every Aquarius have like a death in the family at an early age or something? Like, I don't know. I was just like, what does she mean by that? But I never even really asked.
So the chart can become a destiny when you are not engaged in the process of spiritual evolution and transformation. When you remain in a reactive state of consciousness, meaning what's going on outside of you dictates your behavior, dictates your decisions and your actions, then whatever is written in your chart will happen.
So I guess in that case, it like not only affected you, but like your family. Is this like also like a karmic thing with the family?
Absolutely there is.
Or
Now,
all the charts are intertwined? They all had to go through this?
in the case of death, okay, astrologically, we're not allowed to predict birth or death. Because that's something that comes from the upper world. That's something that's beyond the decisions of the chart. Because even death can be annulled. Even death can be changed. But let's say in your experience of that loss, right? That loss could either have dragged you into a level of despair or resentment or disempowerment or anger, and you could have chosen to remain in that space because of that loss, or you could allow that loss to be some form of catalyst for personal elevation and change.
I really think you went that route.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the case for any sign, right? Like,
It's the case for any sign.
it's like you either go victim
I mean, without
or...
knowing your chart, it's hard to say what the astrologer was looking at.
Yeah.
But, it's very possible that something that was moving or occurring within the energy of Aquarius was indicating a loss.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I would say indicating a loss, not necessarily like a death. Maybe it could be like a loss you're going to experience, something like that. Is that what it would say? You know, like
absolutely.
more in broad terms than it happening. You're like, oh, well, I guess it makes sense because it said there was going to be some sort of loss.
Yeah, because also like obviously everyone else in my family's chart, like they're not Aquarius, so if they're reading their chart, they can't say like, oh yeah, because the Aquarius.
No, but I mean, they probably, I mean, it's likely that other people in your family had some other additional indication, maybe not in the same way, because loss is not indicated in just one single way in astrology. It can be indicated in several different ways, depending on different planets, different houses, different signs. And so it's very, very likely that the other people who were impacted by that loss also had some similar indication in their chart as well.
My question was just people go into it wanting to know the future. And I feel like since we can pretty much change everything, it's nice to know maybe like the energy and like where something like, like I mentioned, if you want to start a new business, like, oh, the energy is there, like maybe push for that, but it's not really going to tell you. I don't think they tell you like, this is what's going to happen. Because then I feel like also we start to believe that movie and then like we actually do make that happen. And it influences actually like how we
I agree.
co-create with the universe over here.
So to answer your question, can you predict the future with astrology? Yes,
Okay.
you can. But you can also change that.
Right.
Okay? So again, it comes down to, is the individual in a reactive state of consciousness or are they in a proactive state of consciousness? right? So, for example, I could see in a chart that somebody is going to be challenged financially. Okay, in 3 years from now, they're going to have some financial challenge. So I could tell them now, listen, you need to, whatever it is that's going on in your finances, if there's any issue, if there's any, thing that's not being done the right way, not being managed the right way, whether it's through negligence, carelessness, or stealing or negative, or not using money in the right way, you need to get that cleaned up now.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because when this energy is coming in, it's going to be time to pay up.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so, especially before COVID, all of the astrologers, we all knew that there was going to be some financial crisis. We had an inkling that it was probably going to be rooted in some sort of widespread disease because of the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, also where it was occurring with the other planets. But we saw. And so I knew at that time that, okay, I needed to start preparing myself financially for that energy. And when it came in, it didn't affect me.
Right.
But if I had not prepared, if I had not known that it was coming, it very well could have negatively impacted me. And so, yes, you can see what's coming down the pipeline, right? It's like, imagine if you're driving down the street and you're paying attention to the road and you see a pothole. You can choose to navigate around the pothole, or you can go through it and, you get a flat tire, maybe you break a rim, and now you're in this sort of state of chaos because you weren't conscious.
Mm-hmm.
You weren't present.
Mm-hmm.
Consciousness is everything.
That's exactly right. So with the chart, you can see the road. You can see where the potholes are. You can see where the pots of gold are.
Yeah.
Right? And how to be conscious in those moments to take advantage of the energy so that it doesn't take advantage of you.
I also think if people are going through a challenge, whether financially or like a career, like should I go this way or do I go that way? Like really lean into like what you're good at or where you're thriving, or if you're gonna shine in this house and you could do something there. Like,
but you'd be surprised at how
why
many
not?
people don't know what they're good at.
That's what I was gonna
but
say.
that's what I
They
was
have
gonna
no
say.
idea.
That's
and
why
that's why the chart helps.
But that's why I'm saying I think it's so interesting for anyone who's skeptical and it's like, well, why? And it's like, well, why not? Like, wouldn't you want to lean into like maybe something you don't even know you're good at, but that's what can like make you very successful and fulfilled and just happy and actually live a life that you should be living.
That's like, so I think that's the most normal common question is people are like, I don't know what my passion is. How do you find your passion? Right?
A lot of people come and they ask me, what's my purpose?
Totally.
I love this question.
That's
what's
a
my
deep
purpose?
question.
I
What's
asked
my
that the first time
purpose?
I met with Kabbalistic astrologer too.
Yeah.
We all have the same purpose. Every single one of us. To
Is it
become
to
like the
share?
light.
Oh yeah.
No.
That's it. To become like the light. That's our purpose. To overcome the desire to receive for the self alone, the selfish desire, and become like the creator. That's our purpose. How, in what way, in what scenery, those are all details. But the core purpose, and as long as you're aligned and you have in your consciousness that my core purpose is to become a being of sharing and creating, a sort of natural result is that you become aligned with the positive aspects of your chart. There's some people out there who they went through some really difficult things and they came to see me after, let's say, a year or two of going through those difficult things. And I do their natal chart and I share with them the secrets of their natal chart. And they're like, Josh, I went through this really, really awful experience 3 or 4 years ago, and it woke me up to exactly what you're telling me. And so, when we talk about moving towards greater levels of fulfillment and getting closer to our purpose, there's really 2 ways. We can't escape fulfilling our purpose. We're always going to be aligned with it. There's just 2 ways that we're either going to get to it. Either it's going to be proactive, conscious, and pushing ourselves outside of our comfort zone to create and share in new and impactful ways, or through the reactive road, which eventually leads to some level of pain or suffering or chaos that catalyzes that very same transformation that we could have engaged with proactively. So either way, we're going to get to our purpose. Either way, we're going to reach our potential. The question is, which road are we going to take? Are we going to take the proactive road, or are we going to take the reactive road, right?
What's the 2025 forecast? What are the vibes, a little bit of what you're seeing astrologically?
Yes.
Not to like focus on the negative, but what can people do to prepare or to really focus on this year with what's coming, since the world is changing so quickly?
And the positive.
But the world is changing so quickly. So many things are happening. Like, what can we not expect? But
it's a great question. So in 2001, a new sort of global societal movie began to play. Okay? It played out all the way until 2020. And then starting 2020, we began to shift into a new global societal movie, a new reality.
And we feel it. COVID happened, crazy elections, like people see these crazy things happening in the world.
Exactly. So really, there is before 2020 and after 2020. From 2020 through 2024, this was kind of the, maybe we can use cusp in this. Maybe we can use cusp in this context. These were transition years. We were transitioning from one reality into a new reality. 2025 is the beginning of the new reality. We're going to see, we have 5 of the outer planets, all changing signs. We have the moon's nodes, which where the eclipses occur, also changing signs. Everything is changing in a very, very, very big way. And so the opportunity that we have is to begin to proactively initiate and engage with that new energy, to step into this new reality in order to create, in order to share in new ways. If we remain stuck in the old reality, oh, I wish it was still like that, and I wish I still had, and I wish I still could, you're going to be very disappointed. You're going to be very, very disappointed because that reality, those rules, those systems, whatever it was, it doesn't exist anymore. We're in a whole new, we're in a whole new 200-year cycle.
Wow.
We're in a new 20-year cycle, 8-year cycle, 12-year cycle. I mean, there's
we're at the beginning.
So many new cycles that are starting this year. And it's our opportunity to decide, who do I want to be? How do I want to step into this new reality? And it requires change. It requires embracing the new. It requires stepping up into a completely new mindset, a completely new consciousness. So if you are willing and ready to step into that newness, this can be super exciting. There can be lots of new opportunities that are coming to you. But if you stay stuck in the old way, it's not going to work out. You're going to be disappointed. And either way, again, you're going to be course corrected and forced into the new reality. So why be forced? Take the proactive step.
Yeah. No, we love it. Okay, one last question that we always leave with. We try to give our listeners a practical tool or tip that we call a homework assignment at the end of every single episode, which is something that they can actively work on this week. So it's your homework for our listeners this week.
So the homework for this week is to look within and see, where have I resisted change? Where have I resisted actively, proactively stepping into something new? Where have I felt the push from people in my life, from situations in my life, to be in this new reality, operate in this new way, but I've resisted it? Because we all have different levels in which we're resisting it. It's natural, it's human nature. But look in your life. Where are you resisting it? And take one small step towards change. Because change, a lot of us fear change. But change is actually the opportunity to upgrade. When you embrace change from a consciousness of not if I change, I'm going to lose, but rather if I change, I'm going to be able to create more than you actually are able to. So that's the homework.
I love that.
I love that, Josh.
This was an incredible episode.
Incredible episode.
So much information.
Where can everybody find you? Where can people book a session with you? Like, tell everybody everything.
Absolutely. So you can book a session with me at astrology.kabbalah.com and just look for me. If you've never done a chart before, even if you've done a natal chart before but not a Kabbalistic chart, highly recommended start with a natal chart. Always start with the natal chart. We go to the core of your soul's work, the core of the lessons that you came here to learn, how to engage with that. If you haven't done a Kabbalistic chart before, then you could do the progression in transit. This is like the look ahead, how to find those potholes to avoid them, or the sacks of gold to take advantage of it. But it's astrology.kabbalah.com.
We love that. Any social handles, Instagram, anything?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram. It's at Josh Robbins Astro. JoshRobbins Astro.
We love it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Thank you so much, you guys.
My
Thank you so
pleasure.
much for
Thank you for the
coming on.
opportunity.
Cool. All right. Bye.
Ciao, everybody.